Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. So as you're all aware, season 8 of competitive has just ended and I really hope that everyone has achieved their season goals. If you haven't, there's always next season to look forward to. So for today's video I thought I'd make a guide to season 9, just giving you guys a few tips and tricks to hopefully help you improve and achieve an even higher rank. Now I will try to make this video as general as possible because I know that not all you guys play the same heroes, etc, but hopefully these tips will apply no matter what hero you play. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay guys, so my first tip is to understand what the fundamental changes in the upcoming season are. Now luckily it's not that much different from season 8, but a few things to keep in mind are that we're going to have a new map coming out, so Blizzard World is going to be available in comp sometime. There's going to be changes to a few of the heroes such as Mei, Hanzo and Sombra. I don't think there's any changes to the actual system itself, so as a rule of thumb you can generally expect to place where you ended up last season if you win half of your placement matches. Now I hate the word meta, but for completeness sake, let's just talk about some of the most common team comps that we're seeing right now. This is probably not so important for lower ranks where you can pretty much play whatever you want, but for higher ranks it might be something to consider. So right now I think that the team comps we're seeing are still pretty dive heavy. There's a lot of Winstons and Divas and you can't really go wrong with Soldier, Tracer, Pharah, those kind of heroes which are quite flexible in their playstyle. And as for healers, I think Moira and Mercy still reign supreme, but feel free to roast me in the comments if you disagree. My next tip is to really try and work on your game sense and positioning because this applies to every hero you play. And you've probably heard these words thrown around constantly, but after observing, how people play in different ranks, honestly that's one of the biggest problems that I see is people don't know where to be at what times. Have you ever had a McCree who uses High Noon and dies instantly, or a soldier who uses his ult but doesn't get any kills? I won't go into the specifics of different heroes, but just as a very general case, if you're playing a support hero you want to be behind or around your tanks who can protect you, and if you're playing DPS you sort of want to look for openings, whether it's by using a high ground or trying to flank to try and get into the more squishier heroes of the enemy team. And this all ties into my next point, which is ult management. For those of you who have watched me stream before, you probably know that I harp about this all the time and I hate it when my teammates use their ult at a time when it serves no purpose and does nothing besides staggering us even further. And this seems to be more so a problem with tank players, I don't know why, and maybe you guys can explain it to me. I cannot count how many times I've had a Diva or a Winston player on my team who uses their ult when half the team's already dead, and it honestly baffles me because there's no reasoning behind it. So make sure you press tab and see whether your team can win the fight or not before you decide to ult. You may not realize this, but there are a lot of situations, for example in 2CP, where you might waste an ult on the first point and the enemy team just caps it anyway, but then you don't have that ult for the second point, so the enemy team just proceeds to steamroll you when that ultimate could have very easily turned the tides and saved you the second point. My third tip is to analyze your strengths and weaknesses and understand whether it's better for you to play in a group or play solo. If you're someone who's not really good at talking or communicating like me, then you're probably better off solo queue, because what happens is if you queue in a group, the system matches you against individual players who are better mechanically or have a high SR, and you're going to be at a disadvantage if you can't keep the communication and coordination up. On the other hand, if you're not that great mechanically, but you have good game sense and you know how to shot call, then it's probably better for you to queue in a group. But again, this is a very general suggestion and everyone's playstyles are different, so just try different things out and see what works for you. Now for tip number 4, I highly recommend everyone pick up at least one tank or one support that they can play, because they are the least popular classes and it's always good to have one that you can fall back to in the case that someone on your team needs to play it. And in that regard, as I mentioned earlier in the video, Moira is such a dominant healer right now. She's really worthwhile picking up and learning. I've been playing her a lot more towards the end of season 8 and honestly she's fun to play, she's not that difficult, but she's pretty overpowered in the right hands. Now that the Overwatch League is really gaining a lot of momentum on Twitch and showing us plebs how it's really done on a different level, I think that it's a great opportunity for you guys to see what these players do differently from yourselves and to see what you can improve on. Well, I mean, that is if you're not interested in playing Symmetra, since she hasn't even been picked once in the whole tournament as far as I'm aware. Now moving on to some more general tips to improve your experience. First of all, please stop playing and take a break when you know you're on a losing streak. I know from first-hand experience over hundreds of hours that there are just days where no matter how well I'm playing, I just can't seem to catch a break, and I'm just on a massive losing streak. It probably has something to do with the matchmaking system, but regardless, make sure to take a break or play on another account, or just come back the next day when you're refreshed and you're in a better mindset to play. Next up, don't let your teammates affect how you play, because we all know that Overwatch can just become a shitfest of toxicity and salty players. Just remember that it doesn't always have to be the same team comp that you're familiar with in order for you to win. We're not playing in the Overwatch League, this is just competitive. Don't let what your teammates say or do affect your gameplay and your role. If you get someone throwing on your team, just ignore them and move on to the next game. There's no point giving them the satisfaction of knowing that you're losing brain cells trying to deal with their crap, and I think that I'm a prime example of this. I mean, half my games I seem to get throwers because I'm a Symmetra and Mercy main, but that hasn't stopped me from climbing to my current SR, so yeah. Oh, and also the current reporting system is a lot better than it used to be, so make sure to report anyone who intentionally tries to grief your games. And to finish off, at the end of the day, Overwatch is just a game, and if you're not having fun, then you really shouldn't be playing. I feel like sometimes people get so frustrated over their SR and rank. I mean, it's just a number and a tiny icon, and I mean, unless you're playing in a competitive team, then fine. I mean, I guess it's important, but let's be real, most of us are not playing in the big leagues or anything like that. I mean, people like to flame me because I'm a quote-unquote boosted Symmetra Mercy one-trick, and it's like, I'm doing more for the community than you are, so unless I see you in the Overwatch League or something, please don't open your mouth. But anyway, I've already forgotten who those players are since they're not very memorable, I'm sorry. But yeah, I hope you guys found this video useful. If you have any questions, feedback or comments, please leave them down below, and otherwise I wish you all the best for Season 9, and I'll see you in the next video.